Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Starladder Season 9 American Qualifiers. We've got Day 2 coming up. Losers Bracket, Merlini. Are you excited?
Yep, 2 people are going home.
2 people are...
Or
two teams.
Staying home.
Yeah, 10 people are going home, really.
Oh, geez, 2 teams, yeah.
2
unfortunate.
teams. Yeah. So only 2 best of ones today. It's a quick day here, and we've got Team Wild Witch Doctors facing off against Isurus Gaming for game number 1. Team WWD, the IX Mike team. I think the heavy favorites coming into this.
Yeah, definitely. I think Isurus probably looked the weakest of the 8 teams yesterday, and Wild Witch Doctors, although they're in the losers bracket, they faced the strongest opponent in Team Dog.
Yeah, that was an epic last game yesterday. So elimination on the line. The draft is already underway, and let's hop right into it. So Isurus Gaming, they had their first pick. They grabbed Visage, WWD with their Mirana Nyx openers. Any thoughts here, Merlini?
Wild Witch Doctors with a more 6.80-ish opening with the Mirana, and Visage, best support in the game. I still think, even after all the nerfs.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
The birds they just keep getting better. We talked about that a little bit yesterday.
They're like completely magic immune now instead of 99.7%.
Yeah, they can. I still think they shouldn't persist through
initially death. It was like, well, they can get Tidebringered, and then everyone was like, well, that's just dumb. This is free 200 gold every time he cleaves. Okay.
They fixed that.
They fixed that. They got Flat Cannon before. They fixed that. They got owned by pure damage from Timbersaw too, so you could just Chakra them and Timber Chaining to kill them, and they fixed that.
Okay.
So like he keeps getting like all these ninja stealth buffs.
These stealth
and then
buffs.
now apparently you can't brain sap them. So like a lot of the competitive heroes had solutions for him, but now you can't really do that much. Next they're gonna nerf Arcane Orb, so you can't kill him.
So what can you do? Just auto attack him? Is that
pure
all you're
damage
left with?
Arcane Orb.
Yeah,
that's really good. Enchantress is also really good versus them.
Yeah, because they fly away and the little impetus chases them.
Yeah. And it's pure damage.
And it's pure damage. Oh, Visage Familiars. I still think this persisting through death is the crazy part. Because Visage, he's alive even when he's dead.
Yeah. Well, what about like Invoker with Force Pierce though?
Yeah, but they're not as imba. You know, they're like on a timer. They'll eventually go away just for the wrath of time.
Mm-hmm.
Familiars don't do that.
The Familiars are OP.
They're their own breed.
Some people say Soul Assumption is the thing that's OP about him.
Yeah,
and
Soul Assumption's good, but it ain't no Familiar.
It takes a lot of mana.
Yeah, it sure does.
They aren't any Familiars are way better though. I agree.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's just good all around. Can't go wrong with a Visage first pick.
Unless you don't have a Visage player.
Unless you don't have a Visage player. That's a good thing to point out. He is a very high skill cap hero, so I guess that's where it balances out. There's that Meepo ban again. I guess Isurus must have an epic Meepo player.
Do they?
Well, this is the second time we've seen a Meepo ban.
Maybe it's just like, hey, you guys are so flippin' bad that we're going to ban Meepo and we're still going to win.
Just in your face. We don't even need bans.
Yeah.
No Meepo. I mean,
it could be like that.
It's
or they could have a epic Meepo player. I have no idea. But there was a Meepo ban yesterday, and I do believe it was against Isurus.
If I recall correctly, if they have a good Meepo player, that means they probably have a good Visage player. Micro-intensive.
Mm-hmm.
One can assume. And OD as their second pick, so a nice staple choice. But interesting to see OD picked right into a Nyx Assassin, because Nyx is sort of regarded as a counter. I know he fares well solo mid against OD.
He's not a hard counter, he's just a soft counter.
A soft counter.
Because like
he can
OD
tango.
He can tango. OD with BKB will still blow him up. And
Right.
if you don't pop your Carapace early and he Sanity's Eclipse, you're just gonna die. Because he's not an int hero. And he usually gets Arcane Boots, so he has no int or survivability.
Right.
But Mana Burn will do a ton of damage if you manage to stay alive, but it is dependent on Nyx getting a fair amount of levels, but it is often very, very strange to pick an OD into a Nyx. You usually don't want that.
Yeah, and Isurus Gaming are obviously on point with the OD counters. They did go ahead and ban out Razor straight away, so they are nervous about that. Doom, another hero that works well against the Outworld Devourer, but they left Bane on the field, and that means WWD will grab themselves the Mirana Bane duo.
Easy Bane pot him.
Easy
kills. So it looks like DDX is also on Isurus. He was old Root Gaming with Monkeys Forever and a couple of other people. But he constantly had lag issues playing. So he might have not looked that impressive, but I still think he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, and Isurus Gaming, they are the Argentinian team. So I suppose ping could be a minor issue. I don't know.
Do they have South American servers?
That's a really good question.
They need some if they don't.
I want to say that there are some servers in Brazil, but I don't know. I feel like I heard that from somebody in a pub game. Not a very reliable source.
Maybe he's like, go back to your server, Brazilians.
Maybe.
That sounds more likely.
It's possible. It's very possible. And here's Witch Doctors again with this Earthshaker. And we talked about Earthshaker a good bit yesterday. And I think he fits into this draft pretty well. That probably means it will indeed be a solo mid Nyx Assassin. Although I guess he could be in the off lane as well. Still a pretty open-ended draft for our Dire side.
It could just be a farming Nyx Assassin in the safe lane, which is rare, but it tends to work out if you have an aggressive strategy. With if you want to keep heroes on like OD, especially if you get some Midas, Nyx Assassin is very, very good at doing so.
Yeah, it's true, and
it's more likely solo mid.
Yeah, I think so as well. We'll see what Isurus want to grab with their 4th pick. They've got their Rubik and Visage on lockdown. They'll need an off-laner. Timbersaw would have worked well, but he is banned out. Clockwork. Actually, not a lot of the popular off-laners still in the pool. What would you be looking at here for an off-lane solution for Isurus?
Isurus, they don't have to off-lane. They can go offensive try with Luna.
They don't
if they wanted to.
Well, they still need somebody in the off-lane.
No, they could just do solo safe lane.
Just solo safe lane, and then...
Well, they have a decent lineup for it, and Earthshaker.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and Earthshaker and Bane aren't the strongest. Aren't the strongest tri laners. They're like decent, but they're not like amazing. They're no Visage, but they're for sure, right? Yeah. So if they go with a Luna, I think they could do pretty well in the tri lane.
All right.
Did I say Visage? I meant Luna.
No, you said Luna. Luna.
Okay,
but they go with the Morphling.
So there aren't that many offlane heroes now. So they're what Bounty Hunter doesn't really. It fits like okay in their strat, I suppose, but
he's
they're
just
more
fallen
like
off in general. I don't remember the last time I saw a Bounty Hunter picked
He's
up.
a good hero. It's just teams tend to play more farmy, and Bounty Hunter is all about kills.
Right.
And I don't know, with supports being like slightly richer and being able to just like scoff at him with sentries and dust just everywhere. I still like the hero though. I definitely think he works in some strats, but you have to have a lineup built around him. It's not like you throw it in this OD and Morphling very passive farmy sort of thing. But Isurus they were the team that ran Drow yesterday, and they got crushed in about less than 15 minutes time.
Yeah, that was a pretty one-sided game.
Yeah, I think they need to draft more for the early game though.
Yeah, that Drow, that was a match where they pretty much just lost every lane. Like every lane just didn't work out for them. So they didn't really make it past the laning phase. They didn't play that bad. They weren't really feeding left and right. They just made a couple of bad judgment calls, and then it
was a lot of small errors that amassed into one big
Yes. They didn't have... Dro was the only one farming well, and then after she died a couple times, it was just...
Oh, we forgot about the Bristleback.
What do we have? Oh, the Bristleback. How could we forget about Bristleback?
He would have been pretty good.
Yeah. Too bad he's banned.
Yeah.
They do need somebody tanky for their
They should have taken Bristle over Morph, for sure.
No way Morphling was getting banned out. How is Morphling right now? Do you think he's
so-so?
He's about
mediocre.
Mediocre, not broken.
I'd probably say like slightly worse than at your average carry in competitive. As a hero in like a non-captain's mode tryhard game, then I think it's just he's standard. But in captain's mode game, he's just not that good.
Yeah.
He takes way too long to farm up. And he doesn't have like that great of farming potential. Is okay. It's not amazing.
He reminds me of Weaver a little bit, and that he like does. Is Lincoln's First still a good item, a good way to go?
It's okay. The problem with Morphling is you need at least 2 items to fight though. You can't fight with just a Lincoln's or just a Manta or just an EB. Like you need 2 items to fight, which is why he's not that strong. Like Weaver with a Lincoln's, even without a Lincoln's, he can still do a lot of damage. But Morphling is kind of like, well, I can fight, but I need level like 11, 12. I need
weak
like
sauce.
15, 20 minutes of farm. So it's like a different version of PL, I suppose. It's just like PL can't do that much at all. He can do a little bit, but he can't really do that much.
Right.
He needs a ton of farm.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I can't help but think that Isurus Gaming might be misreading Witch Doctors a little bit with that Shadow Fiend final ban. I suppose they could have done
they could have done offlane Nyx, safe lane Potom.
Yeah, maybe I'm misreading as well. They're going to grab a Storm. Though, when we saw Witch Doctors yesterday, were they the team that ran the position 1 Storm?
No. Oh, no. It was they were safe lane IX Mike, and they were off lane Potom. It was position 1 Potom.
Oh, right. I'm thinking of a different game. So still, this is a very open-ended draft. They have a lot of flexibility here. They could put Nyx or Storm Spirit mid.
They have way better gank, though. Like 10 times better gank than Isurus.
Huge gank, and that's a little bit scary, especially with an OD on the field. He's very susceptible to early game ganks. Morphling, well, not as much. At least he has an escape mechanism with the waveform, but he's still pretty susceptible early game just because he's so weak.
I imagine it might just be like the same game like we saw Isurus play yesterday. Well, they just ignore the Morphling, kill everybody else, and then they just win the game from there.
Yeah, that's true. That's almost exactly what they did. And at that point, everyone's so tilted it doesn't matter that Droz had free farm because you can just jump on her. Yeah, that's a way to do it, and we'll see if that's how they choose to execute. Wind Ranger, the final choice for Isurus Gaming. So that's probably their offlaner. How did we forget about that cute redhead Merlini?
She does not get picked very often.
She really doesn't.
And for
it's almost like the name change was a nerf to her. Once they changed the name, I haven't seen her.
Yeah, she's a decent hero. You have to have a really good Wind Ranger player, firstly, though, because shackles are absolutely useless if you don't actually hit them.
Right.
Unlike a lot of other offlane hero spells. And aside from that, they have so much magical damage on Wild Witch Doctors that the Wind Run isn't going to be that useful. Wind Run is like especially useful versus heroes like Lifestealer or like Gyro, even just heroes that rely pretty much on physical damage, especially at a short range, but. Versus like Earthshaker and Storm and Potom and Bane and Nyx, it's not really going to work out for her, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Every single one of those heroes has some sort of magic-based ability that can just cut through that wind run. So,
but it is good initiation that they do need, though. Like, if you can hit a shackle and start off a fight, it's going to be incredible.
I'm a little nervous for Isurus Gaming here. We see the Wild Witch Doctors moving in through the Radiant Jungle. They will catch Visage. Oh, this will be an easy first blood. Nightmare straight into Arrow. And there's the defensive Astral. Doesn't last too long at level 1. Fissure to split up the fight. And there's the first blood. Sna will get the bonus gold. Morphling, he goes straight in. He will survive as he heads back towards the tower.
If he clarities, this is another kill. He needs another clarity, but he doesn't have enough mana to Nightmare. He could have gotten another kill. XCOM could have chased. I'm surprised he didn't, actually.
Yeah, he's really close. It's 165 mana. Yeah, if he had clarity'd right away, they could have set that up. You're absolutely right, my friend.
Yeah. I don't know what Isurus was thinking, like, actually fighting that afterwards. Like, OD could have potentially died. Morphling could have potentially died, too, if Bane had chased either of them. It's a 5 on pretty much 3 scenario because Visage was almost dead.
4 on 3. There's the Storm Spirit's up.
Oh, yeah, 4 on 3. It was initially 4 on 4, but Visage already being dead, it's 4 on 3, and they have way better stunts. They have way better level 1 with Sacred Arrow, with Fissure. You do not want to fight into that.
Yeah, absolutely right. So Wild Witch Doctors start off with a bang, and that bonus gold did go the way of Nyx Assassin, so he'll have a small edge if Sna is indeed the one headed to the
Here he has
lane.
his bottle, that's a huge edge. And he has a magic stick, too. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
That's some value.
So we were talking about Nyx versus OD. In a vacuum, OD might have the slight edge, but now I think this Nyx Assassin will be well equipped to deal with the Outworld Devourer.
But at the same time, he won't have mana burn until level 2, and he might not have that much mana to cast it if he gets like Astral twice, so it's not the worst thing in the world for Isurus Gaming. It is a pretty good setback, but it's not impossible for OD to win this lane.
Yeah, very true. So let's go ahead and look at how these lanes will settle down. On our Radiant side, we have Isurus Gaming down bottom. Fullback will be playing on the Morphling, and he'll be supported by 999 on the Rubik, also joined by the Visage, and I butcher that one. Nidara, something close to that. OD in the mid lane, played by DDX, and then of course up top we've got the off-lane Wind Ranger with the stand-in Destroyer. I can't read the purple because I'm colorblind. Destroyer, Sing, something
Rawr.
Rawr.
Asterix.
Would you like the pleasures of introducing the Wild Witch Doctors, Melina?
Sure. And the safe lane, we have Ush on the safe lane Storm Spirit. Very surprised he's not playing Potom. He loves that hero. Snot on the solo mid Nyx Assassin, who already has a bottle and a magic stick thanks to that first blood. And rounding out the rest of the Wild Witch Doctors, I was about to say West Witch Doctors. We have XCOM on the Bane, IX Mike on the Mirana on bottom, and Earthshaker played by WWD. WWD always reminds me of What Would Jesus Do?
What?
WWJD? Because I was from the South, and they always had, like...
That was the thing.
What would Jesus do?
What would Jesus do?
Sort of thing. So I initially thought it was like, what would something do? I don't know. It just always makes me think of it.
What would IX Mike do?
What would IX Mike do?
Grow a mustache. When in doubt, just mustache.
You know who the mustache would work well on? It would work well on the Storm Spirit. If he actually played Storm, it would, like, fit his...
He would look cool.
He looked like a dirty guy before. He was like overly pudgy. He had like
I could
skin
see like a nice
everywhere.
big handlebar mustache coming out.
Yeah.
I could get into that.
He already kind of has one.
Yeah, well, I don't know about all that. He's, well, sort of. He's got his nose is in sort of an awkward position, but you could jam a mustache in there. I have faith in the workshop people.
IX Mike, new sponsor set, please. So Sna already having upper edge on mid. DDX is out of mana. So right now, if you're a DDX, you can either give up lane control by not going a bottle, or you can give up your gold advantage by going a bottle, but you'll have better lane control. So it's not a great situation for him. Oh, Rubik.
It's a disaster down bottom in the eyes of Isurus Gaming. Easy setup right there. The Mirana Bane duo working its magic, and they've got a fissure to follow up.
How do they stop a kill on Rubik, though? That's the problem with this tri-lane. Like, they can't get a return kill because that means Morphling has to go wave in, and then he's going to die too.
Yeah.
And Visage can't interrupt anything, at least not until level 6. So they can't stop the chain of initiation, which is very, very bad for Isurus Gaming.
Yeah, no reset mechanism. There's really not much they can do besides run, do a little bit of right-click. But all in all, I mean, they don't have a lot of options. Not the strongest tri-lane. Rubik is their disabler, so if he's the target of choice, that's extra bad.
Morphling's really greedy. I think he works well in split push strategies because he really excels at that, or to counter. He like works really well if you can actually replicate like an anti-mage or something like that, because you get the feedback from that, which is pretty ridiculous. But Morphling at this point, he has 7 CS. He's constantly getting enfeebled by the Bane, so this is just not the best lane for Isurus.
And meanwhile, IX Mike is 16-0 in last hit, so an obvious edge over
a failed gank on top too. So now they know that there's only 2 heroes out on bottom, and they're just playing super aggressively. They might even get a kill.
Yeah. Ooh. And they will connect with an arrow on the Morphling. He's trying to morph that strength. It'll keep him alive. Maybe long enough. WWD, not enough mana for a fissure. Oh, that is bittersweet. That would have been a kill if he had the mana pool for it. But such is the life of a level 2 Earthshaker.
Such is the life.
Well, this Rubik up top, he does have a smoke in the inventory, so there may be an option for him to rotate around, maybe set up a kill on mid, help out the team a little bit, but so far this Rubik hasn't really had a... He doesn't have a home in this game, Merlini. He's not helping the tri-lane, he's sort of helping Wind Ranger up here, but all in all, hasn't really found
that's just part of it. That's part of the draft, though.
Yeah.
Like, Morphling and OD are not they're not really that aggressive of solos, especially when there's a Nyx. And they were very aware of the Nyx pick because it was first picked by Wild Witchstalkers. So Rubik, I think he tends to do best in more aggressive lineups, because you can set up really well with telekinesis. But I mean, as we saw yesterday, there was a really farmed Rubik, so he can be very effective even if just left to stacking.
Yeah. And in the mid lane, it looks like OD is doing pretty well. 23-9 versus the 15-2 Nyx Assassin. So even though Sna had that early edge, still not winning the lane by most standards. But he's holding his own, and that's what's important against
he's
against
bottle
an OD.
crowing.
Yeah.
So he can definitely win the lane if he bottle crows.
Yeah, and Nyx has a haste rune bottled up right now. XCOM will rotate in. Nightmare to start it off. Sna with the haste rune on. Will connect with an Impale. And will they have enough damage to finish off DDX here? There's the Astral. And Bane looking for a few more right clicks. The haste rune will probably be enough to secure this kill, and they get it. XCOM able to finish him off. Morphling does waveform forward, but unfortunately the haste for him, or the haste on Nyx rather.
Where's the Rubik when you need him, man?
Yeah, very true. He's up top looking to set up a kill on Ush. And he needs to do it soon because Ush is about halfway to hitting level 6.
If your Morphling has to rotate in to save your solo mid, that means your supports just aren't doing their job.
That's a good point.
Because I think if Visage were there, actually Visage wouldn't be that effective because Grave Chill, when he was hasted, not very effective. But Rubik, if he were there, nice
Shackle does latch. Power shot on the mark. Isurus 999 taking an odd path here. He's not really going to be able to do much to help out. Ush still not level 6, though. Support comes in from Nyx Assassin. Will they turn this around? Well, the Storm still falls, but they grab the kill on Rubik. And it's not over yet. Windrunner trying to make the great escape. She will go for a port out. Sna with the Impale. Oh, it's off the mark. He had no vision. He had to gamble one way or another. And unfortunately falls short that time.
Yeah, I think if he had saved the Vendetta for the Windrunner kill, he probably would have gotten it too. But it was he wanted to save the Storm ASAP, and that meant bursting down the Rubik.
Yeah. So they at least make it a 1-for-1, a slightly better exchange for Isurus Gaming, I suppose, as they pull a few other heroes out of position. But they get a kill on the board. That's also good news for our Radiant team.
Radiant team, they're not in a terrible position. They're down by 3 kills and they gave up first blood, but they're still getting farm around the map. OD, most notably, pretty stacked, 25 and 10. Second most CS. Wind Ranger has 32 CS, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, she actually started, Phase Boots first went with the Blades of Attack first item, so that did give her a little bit of a last-hitting edge. But in the mid lane, we'll see Initiation. Earthshaker will be the target of choice, and he will indeed fall. Though while that's happening, Mirana comes in and does finish off the Visage, which I happen to not catch. But IX Mike needs to be careful, does not have a leap available. He does have his Phase Boots up, so he is rather speedy. That's where it will end. 1-for-1 exchange, support for support.
Yep, lane rotation. We see Morphling in mid because bottom lane is just safer for an OD. Morphling, oh, Snuz.
Oh, he's in big trouble. Shackle does latch, but the Spike Carapace buys him some time. Out comes the Vendetta, and Nyx Assassin just scurries away.
Yep, they're doing a very good job of setting up wards and being at the right place past this 5-minute mark. They have an Observer and Sentry in mid because that's a pretty hot spot. While Witch Doctors has a very aggressive lineup, and they need to try and stymie this Nyx as much as possible. And making him use Vendetta defensively means everyone's safe on the map for at least another minute.
Yeah, especially when it's only level 1 Vendetta. It has a pretty low duration to cooldown ratio. 20 seconds duration with a 70-second cooldown. So you're right, that's a win. Small victory, but that's what they need right now. 2 to 5.
That's a pretty, I'd say it's a big victory for them.
Big win.
Because Storm Spirit is going to be catching up in farming because he just died. And then if Nyx Assassin isn't ganking, Bane's not level 6, neither is Earthshaker, so they can't really do anything by themselves either. Like maybe Bane and Bottom can get a kill, but it's very risky going on bottom lane because it's right next to the tower. And then if they go on mid, Morphling can still morph while he's stunned, which is I mean, I guess that's one of the good parts about Morph this game because they don't have any silences, and he can't morph through silence, I believe, but he can morph through stuns. So he's just going to be able to get his morph off. Morph works while Morphling is disabled, but not when silenced.
Interesting.
That's
so
a Storm needs an Orchid ace like pretty soon.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, I actually didn't know that. I figured he could morph through everything. I didn't realize silence stopped it.
Silence.
Yeah, okay, good to know. Good to know. We don't see
Your
Morphling
alt key is your
very
best
often.
friend, man.
Yeah, it really is. That's a good thing here. So we do have a pause. Looks like there's some sort of a connection issue, but hopefully it resumes reasonably quickly. Again, to reiterate, only 2 best of 1s today, guys. We've got the losers bracket round 1. Best of 1s, and 2 teams are going home today.
These are our last best of 1s. Everything else in the bracket.
Nay, my friend,
No?
you are
Tomorrow?
mistaken. Losers bracket round 2 is also best of 1.
I lied. I'm a liar.
But we're getting close to the end of the best of 1s, and our match after this one will be the House is Down versus PSST. The House is Down, also known as THD. I think they're more popularly
That game
known as.
is... I thought this game was going to be more lopsided because I thought Wild Witch Doctors was much stronger than Isurus, but the other game should be very close.
Very close indeed. PSST looked pretty good yesterday, and also
couldn't deal with the Naga, man.
Yeah, THD did also. They were both close games, so can look forward to that. Looks like this match has resumed, and we're back into it. OD's farm looking pretty solid now. Is this a game where you would want to see OD go for a hand of Midas Merlini for some recovery farm, or is that wasted effort here?
It depends on what they want to do. Do they want to get huge on Morph, or do they want him being like somewhat active in kills? If they just want to farm for like a Link into Manta, then he should just go Midas. But if he expects a lot of aggression from Witch Doctor, then he should probably go Force Staff or Mech. So it depends on what Wild Witch Doctor is going to do, or what they think they're going to do.
Oh yeah, what they think they're going to do. That can be a tricky read at times.
I think it's definitely safer to go Force Staff here because he's not going to be their main source of damage, or actually him and Mirana. I don't actually know how Mirana died solo.
He just juked it. I was looking at that lane and I tabbed away, and how did he just ulted him straight up? That was just almost a one-hit kill, and now I'm so befuddled we missed a kill up top. Wow, was that just a straight-up ultimate? Like Mirana had no in?
He was low. He was at like 380 when he had that brief engagement in mid, but he didn't want to use his Sal because he'd only heal like 250 HP, so he might have still been low from that and just gotten obliterated by OD. But at the same time, that should not happen. Like if you see OD during daytime, you just sleep away, or you just salve up so you can actually farm.
Yeah, I was really not ready for that. That's still a good kill for OD, though. That will boost his net worth, put him in the number 2 slot, now slightly ahead of Mirana. Though it was a 1-for-1 across the map, as they did pick off Bane up in the top lane while that engage was happening. So more exchanging about the map. I think Isurus will have their work cut out for him, though, as we reach the mid-game and WWD start roaming a bit more and starting to gank. Bane is now level 6. He has the Fiend's Grip. That's how they set up the kill on Windranger up top. And I'm sure that will continue now that Storm Spirit's level 8. We'll see if he gets that Orchid up. Does have the Magic Wand complete. But no doubt WWD will turn up the aggression a few notches here once they get those core items complete that they're looking for. I mean, Nyx Assassin with an Urn, usually a sign that he's going to be rather aggressive.
Yeah, he almost has his arcane boots too. I think the wild card here is Wind Ranger. She actually almost has her mech completed, and she was able to outlane the Storm Spirit pretty hard in the off lane. So she is going to be a pretty big impact, much larger than I expected her to.
Yeah, her CS is really quite good. 35-9 versus a 39-3 Storm Spirit. So you're absolutely right about that. Again, she started Blades of Attack and then grabbed the second Blades of Attack straight away. So sort of an atypical build, but worked well for her.
Yeah, it is atypical. Like, if Storm can't actually run up to her and play aggressively, then she's going to win the lane.
Yeah. We do see a rotation here for the top rune at the 10-minute mark. It is an invisibility. The Impale off the mark, and they deny the rune. Oh, Sna, he's going to walk away without a full bottle. Poor little Scarab. And rotation back up top. The Wind Ranger as well as the Rubik. Can you defend this tower? But I don't think an engage is going to break out. Let's glance at the graphs here. About a 2,000 gold lead, 3,000 experience lead.
There's a rotation from Bane.
They
really want to kill
oh, yeah.
DDX.
It is a 3 versus 1 down here. Maybe some supports can pour it in. TP scrolls.
They know he knows it right there.
Yeah, and OD is the only one with the TP scroll. No, Wind Ranger has one. So if they could have found an initiation, perhaps they could have done it. But meanwhile, in the mid, Ush zips forward, and they will go for the kill on Morphling. They finish it off. Moonlight Shadow comes out, and they don't have detection to deal with it. Fissure does separate the fight a little bit, and allows for WWD to make the great escape.
I'm not sure why they don't have a sentry in mid. They had one there before, and that was like as soon as the Knicks hit 6, and then just a slight lapse. Oh,
the
boy.
trap has been sprung. Yugi, you foolish man. Fiend script used on the OD. Both of them are still alive. There's the offensive nightmare, pardon me. They do finish off the OD. In comes support. They finish off the Wind Ranger as well. That was just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You can't walk up to the high ground if you have no vision.
That was some strange teamwork in between IX Mike and XCOM too. IX Mike was focusing the non-grip target.
Yeah.
Which is
a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I think if they just killed... they could have gotten the Visage too, I think, and if they just focused the OD.
He's in big trouble up top. He cannot tango with this level 8 Storm. Scratch that level 9 Storm as Ush grabs himself a free kill in the top lane, and his allies pressure the tier 1 in mid.
His allies are doing a very good job of creating space for him. He was at like 17 CS compared to Wind Ranger's 32, and now he's like tripled his CS, and Wind Ranger has only had like 7 more CS since then.
Yeah.
So, and they're about to get a tower, and they've gotten a lot of kills too. So, Isurus definitely on the back foot now. Morphling has resorted to farming, but I mean, their 4 roamers and Wild Witchtalkers are just much stronger than Isurus's.
And a 4-man smoke from Team WWD in the mid lane, and they will rotate into the Radiant jungle. Looks like they may have their sights set on the Morphling, farming the easy camp. No, they will rotate, and they may catch a Visage. This tower in the mid lane is down, so there is no detection here, and they will find a good place to initiate. A double connection with the Impale, and they finish off the Rubik. OD will scurry away. Visage, though, may not be so lucky, or will he? Yeah, they won't pursue, so it ends up just being a singleton kill on the Rubik, at least for now. As they are going to pursue, an engage could break out here at the top tier 1 tower.
Yeah, he's going to drop a ward behind the tower, I think, and then there's a regen on Storm too.
Yep. Oh.
Radiant's middle tower
He will zip away. There's that regen rune you were talking about.
Oh, he doesn't have a ward. I thought he's had a ward, but it's in his stash. They need vision behind this tower if they want to push. It's not the easiest thing to push in the world, especially...
XCOM, you need to be a little careful, my friend. He will be safe. Ush dives the tower, connects with DDX. There's the fissure, and out comes the Moonlight Shadow as well as the Echo Slam. Down goes OD. Now Bane will use the Fiend's Grip on top of the Wind Ranger. Visage still only level 4, no way to interrupt. They get a counter kill on the Earthshaker, but it's looking rough for Isurus Gaming. We see OD has bought back. He's ported to the tier 1 tower. He wants to rejoin the action. It will be a 1 for 3. And in comes the Astral. Ush will reinitiate. Needs to be a bit careful as he is hopping into 3. They're all clumped up. If only Sna had enough mana for a stun. They will burn the OD ultimate. Does finish off the Storm as well as the Bane, but it will cost him his life. That's a dieback for the OD. Don't know if that one was worth it, Merlini.
That was just a slight positioning error by Isurus. Like 2 of them went over here, and then OD was just left behind, and he got ulted by the Earthshaker at the tower. So they were just like slightly out of position, and Wild Witchtalkers completely capitalized on that. And the regen rune on Storm too. He pretty much had 2 full mana pools because of that.
Yeah. Perfect timing for a regeneration rune there. And down bottom, Wind Ranger. Gank attempt. Unfortunately, she gets hopped to the other side of the fissure. And the arrow is way off the mark. But
she's been trying to farm her mech for like a good 5 minutes now, and she already had her headdress and her recipe.
That's the buckler recipe.
Yeah, and a recipe, and she can't even farm it. They desperately need a mech to fight, though.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Ush trying to do what he can, but this Morphling just a little bit too tanky. Won't be able to solo him down. He does have that first Oblivion Staff, of course, working towards an Orchid. And Morphling, well, he's got his Perseverance up to go with the Ring of Aquila and the Power Treads, but only half of that first item. Still not a lot. Going to be a while before Morphling comes online.
I call it Ring of Tequila.
Ring of Tequila. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, he can't fight, though. Like, look at his items. Like, he is doing as much as he can during these fights, but it's just a Morphling with the Perseverance.
Yeah.
And, like, some stats. That's it. Against his Mass Stunlock, Bane was able to channel his grip for full duration, and there was a Morphling and a Visage standing right next to him just watching him destroy. Visage is not level 6, though, which is a really big deal. 15 minutes in, not level 6.
Yeah. The support levels are the big disparity here. We see both Bane and Earthshaker on WWD are level 8, and Rubik only 6, and the Visage lowest in the game at level 5. He is the one hero you want to hit level 6 just about as quickly as possible, and he's gotten left behind here. Bottom tier 1 tower does fall in favor of WWD. 15 to 6.
Oh, here's a Marauder ultimate. They have a sentry, but it's way far back in the lane. Looks like they're going to scout out the Earthshaker, though.
Yeah,
they know.
They will back out. Smart play. And they will use a smoke of their own. Visage has now dinged level 6, so at least has familiars on the field.
They need hackle shots. They need hackle shots, and they need a mech if they want to fight in the mid game. Like, one item on Morphling isn't going to really change anything. Like, one link is at this point, so they really just need better use of their current skills. So now Visage is level 6, so they have that going for them. But at the same time, they have the Blink Dagger on the Nyx Assassin, which is pretty difficult to deal with on its own, and they have a Storm Spirit, 300 gold until his Orchid, and which we'll get after this tower. They're not in a good position to defend. There is a smoke, though.
Yeah, and they press forward. Tower almost denied by OD, but he does miss it. Storm goes in for the last hit. They secure that last tier 1 tower kill. WWD, oh no, he fissures himself in. He's running around, nowhere to go. That will be a free kill for Isurus. An unfortunate fissure cost him his life.
Yeah, now the support is getting level 6, and they're actually doing work with it. Fissure, I'd probably say the best spell to steal. Grip is like decent, but Fissure is really low cooldown, so you can always use it like maybe at least once, maybe twice during team fights without having to worry about the cooldown. Grip, you're like, I want to wait for a good opportunity to do so, especially when all 5 heroes can interrupt it. I don't think it's as good as Fissure.
Yeah. And down bottom, IX Mike maybe in some trouble. The Morphling comes in, does start to engage, but won't have enough to secure the kill. There is a Nyx Assassin nearby, Blink Dagger ready, and a Regeneration Rune in the bottle if fullback steps too far forward. And you're right, Rubik does have the fissure. That was a Rubik fissure that blocked in the Earthshaker. So I may have been implying that it was his own fissure, but that was a Rubik play. Man, we'll see Rubik use that fissure once again onto Sna, and it's enough to secure the kill. That's the end of his dominating streak. Some bonus gold going the way of Morphling, a much-needed pick-me-up. ISG all of a sudden exploding with a little bit of momentum. Still a huge golden experience deficit of about 7,500. But, well, at least grabbing some kills about the map.
Yep. So they're starting to make things happen, though, which is good. They need kills, they need space created, and they need farm. They need a lot of things going for them. Whereas Wild Witch Doctors, they can play passively and farm if they want, but ISG actually has better late game with OD and Morph, so they should probably take the fight to them, make use of the Orchid, make use of the Nyx Assassin while he's still strong. He's level 11, and at this point in the game is very potent in his ganking potential.
Yep, I totally agree. Now that the Orchid's up, this is
they might lose a gem here. This fissure has led to 3 kills.
Wow, you're right. That is the Bane's gem down on the ground. I'm not sure who picked it up, but Ush does hop in, as did the Nyx Assassin. Out comes the Astra on the Nyx. Rubik will fall. Now Nyx looking for the escape. And he does make it. In comes an Echo Slam. Arrow connects with the Visage. That's enough for a kill. Wind Ranger will wind run away. In comes the Orchid on the Outworld Devourer. And it's a 1 for 3. Yes, the gem was traded. It's still in the inventory of Wind Ranger, but perhaps not for long. Fissure connects. No follow-up. A 1 for 3. Still that gem exchanged.
Yep, Morphling still farming away too. Still trying to get his Lingams. He's actually pretty close now, just 1,000 gold away, but they're going to need a lot out of him. Roshan is up, but Wild Witch Doctor also doesn't have a mech either, so it's going to be quite some time until they can take it. They do not have a good Roshan lineup at all. Yeah. I guess Arrow's the only thing that's like really good for Roshan, but aside from that, they don't have that much damage. And
speaking of mech, Wind Ranger has now been able to pick hers up as she did survive that last fight. That is great news for Isurus Gaming. As you mentioned, WWD do not have a mech of their own, so that will give them a team fight edge. And maybe they can use this gem to grab a little bit more map control. Let's take a look at the ward situation. There's only one Radiant ward down right now, and it is in their jungle, so they are kind of boxed in. Meanwhile, Dire Vision, well, they don't have a ton of wards down either, but one outside the Roche Pit and then one lane ward here down in the bottom. So, well, perhaps they can start getting a little bit more map control and put down some wards of their own. By they, I mean Isurus, of course.
Isurus still huddling around S4 in mid. They've been doing this for the majority of the game, but that's what you need to do versus the next assassin. So they're playing this mid game pretty decently. WWD needs his blink. He's still 300 gold away. He also needs to not give Rubik Fissure because that led to a bad chain of events for WWD.
Need to use that enchant totem right away because, well,
that skill is so useless on Rubik.
Yeah, really is though. Echo Slam, not one you really want Rubik to steal either. So. All about that enchant totem, really.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Needs to be a little more cautious. Does Rubik still have the fissure? No, he was killed in that last fight, so he is actually spell-less at the moment. Which is good news for WWD.
Yeah, you also don't want to give him Impale. Impale's a really good spell to steal too. Arrow's decent too. Yeah. So
Fiend's Grip is really the big one here.
Yeah,
the easy one to steal.
Super easy. I haven't even seen him use it too much. I saw him use it, I guess, twice now.
Yeah, at least twice, if not a third time. But with that, WWD will move into the Roche Pit, and it will be uncontested. If you look at the vision, Isurus have absolutely no visual confirmation. So a free Roshan going the way of our Dire side that will further their gold lead here, probably close to that 10,000 mark. So they're still in
they're
great
expecting
shape.
A smoking.
Has fallen to the Dire.
They don't have that great of a Roshan lineup, but I guess Enchant Totem is actually pretty good for it too. He was like stun lock for a quarter of the duration.
Yeah.
1.5 second duration, 5-second cooldown. That's actually very high uptime on that.
The problem right now is Isurus just don't have any map control. As you mentioned yesterday, my friend, if you can't farm your own jungle, you're probably not having a good time. And Isurus aren't farming much at the moment. We will see Bane caught inside of an Astral as he does poke maybe too far forward. Moonlight Shadow comes out. And Wild Witch Doctors are ready to take an engage, though this bottom tier 2 tower will prove to be a pesky annoyance.
Full back getting ganked.
And, oh, full back. In some trouble, will survive. Compliments of the Astral Imprisonment. Ush in big trouble. He's got no mana pool, but he does have the Aegis. He'll be popping up in just a couple seconds here. Support is inbound. Sna comes in. Looking for a stun. Does not find it.
He wasn't able to get the Orchid off before Morph started morphing.
Yep.
If he had, he would have gotten killed. Because Morph was really low.
Well, basically they traded that Aegis for the tier 2 tower down bottom. Shackle Flies does not latch. And Earthshaker looking for an opportunity here. Whoa, a lot of damage coming out onto Isurus Gaming. Rubik as well as the Windrunner first to fall. Visage and OD second to go down. And it will be a 4-0 triple kill coming out for the Storm Spirit. Oh boy, all of a sudden.
That was a huge fissure.
Yeah. A lot of damage.
He hit 3 heroes with it out of 4, and they weren't able to disable him. ISG does not have that much disabled to begin with, so that's something that is a weakness in their draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, they traded the Aegis for the tier 2 tower, and then the setup for that fight. So it seemed like kind of a feed of that Aegis almost, but it's created enough space to allow that fight to happen.
If he got in the morph, it would have been.
It would have been huge. Yeah,
huge. So it wasn't all for naught.
Yeah, it was not all for naught. Yes, very true. So yeah, now looking at that gold graph, all of a sudden the skyrocket, about 14,000 golden experience in their favor. And looking at item progression, well, not too much on the side of Isurus. The Lincolns is now up on Morphling. We talked about that mech on the Wind Ranger, and even OD, whose farm hasn't been too bad, only has himself a Force Staff and virtually nothing in the bank.
They
only
need
about 100 gold. Yeah. What are you thinking about this IX Mike build? He went phase boot straight into Lincoln's Sphere on this Mirana.
Lincoln's is meh on Mirana in this game because I think he needs more damage and aggression. And Lincoln is like, okay, I guess like maybe you can like leap in and not have to worry about spells, but at the same time they need physical damage because Storm doesn't really provide that much. Next Assassin, not really known for his physical damage aside from Vendetta, and Earthshaker is almost purely magic based too, so they need some physical damage in case the game goes late, in case they have to fight against BKB Wars. But I guess OD and Morphling aren't anywhere close to their BKBs, but it could potentially go to that point in the game where they're just going to BKB in their face. But now ISG has to worry about an Earthshaker with Blink 2, and that is a lot of initiation that you don't really want to deal with. And they don't really have the means to deal with it either.
Yeah. Sna, he is vendetted up here in the mid lane, considering a solo kill on this Rubik, who is actually spellless at the moment, so could end up being a rather easy kill if he finds initiation.
Morphling also hasn't been using his replicate to bait out ganks. I think he could be doing that a lot because Nixus doesn't. He's not going to pop out of Vendetta to check whether it's an illusion or not. He's going to most likely just gun for it, and if it's an illusion, then the gank's over. So I think he could create a lot of space with his replicate. He's using it defensively, he's using it defensively to retreat instead of defensively spreading out wild witch doctors around the map.
And with that, Storm Spirit now has his Bloodstone complete, his second core item after Orchid, and that makes him a whole nother beast to tango with, some huge mana regen, and he's pretty tanky as well with about 1.5k hit points. Tier 2 tower in the top lane falls, and that will take the total tower count now 5-0 in favor of the Wild Witch Doctors. That is one large disparity. ISG have yet to secure any towers of their own.
Yeah, they do not have much map control at all. They can't even farm this camp, and you know you're in a terrible position if Radiant can't even farm that camp. You're in a bad position if you can't farm your jungle, but if you can't farm this one large camp, then that means you're just scared of everything.
To your base. Arrow does connect with Rubik. Follow-up will be there. Zip forward, and the Astral comes out just in the nick of time to keep Rubik alive, though perhaps not for long. Fissure, and then Nyx Assassin to finish him off as he pops out. Well done by Witch Doctors, and that will secure them this Tier 2 tower kill in the mid, making it 6-0 in total tower count.
Yep. Are they going to push up now? Storm Spirit has his Bloodstone, and Mirana has his Desolator, her Desolator. So now things are really working out for Wild Witch Doctors, and I don't foresee ISG being able to farm their BKBs. Yeah. Not with this amount of pressure.
I'm not sure how they're going to do it either. I mean, they just have no map control. They have no avenue to farm. Right now, all 5 of them are just stuck inside the base. Wind Ranger will pop out. Shackle latches with Bane, but you can see how timid they are. Support is nearby, and they don't overcommit. Lincoln's comes out onto the Bane. Sharing is caring, Merlini.
Sharing is caring. Yeah, it is good if they want to pop it on Storm. I think he could go like super aggressive with that. But at the same time, he already has Orchid and Bloodstone and regen in his bottle, so I don't really think he's hurting for ways to initiate.
Yeah. So, and Roshan won't be up too soon. It's still quite a while before he'll be alive, so I guess Witch Doctors could just sit back and farm. They're not really under any huge pressure to break the base right now, but I think they're strong enough that they could probably at least chip away at this Tier 3 tower, force out a glyph, and, you know, maybe take a good fight. Arrow almost connecting with the OD. Would have made for an easy tower push. The glyph actually coming up here in just about 5 seconds.
Yeah, you don't want to go late with an OD and Morph if you don't have to. And if they can end the game now, then why not?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
This tower's already pretty low too. It's at like 20%.
And here's the initiation. The Impale off the mark. Orchid used on Rubik to start it off. Not the best initiation from Wild Witch Doctors. It will cost their Storm Spirit a little bit.
That's a huge Echo. Oh, there was a 3-man Echo right there.
And oh, the Sanity's Eclipse comes out, does a fair bit of damage to the Wild Witch Doctors. They do back out, but there's that Echo Slam you were talking about. Down goes the Wind Ranger, an instant buyback. The tower has fallen, and now Witch Doctors will have the opportunity to do this without the tower, without detection. Moonlight Shadow comes out straight away. They grab a kill on the Visage. They grab a kill on the Morphling as well. They'll both buy back. 3 buybacks have been burned to keep this Rax alive. The glyph is still available. They can still yet make a hold. Sna, perhaps in some trouble, but they will just back out. Another fissure, zip forward, and Ush maybe biting off more than they can shoot. Whoa, what an Impale coming out, and that is going to cost Isurus Gaming. They will grab a kill on the Nyx Assassin, but it's not going to come for free, baby. And they will repel for now.
Gem.
Grab a kill on Bane. Yeah, Gem goes down once again, so not a bad hold, but whew, playing with fire there, grabbing a kill on the Mirana. And, well, will they grab another kill on the Storm Spirit? They best not. He can zip away. Ush.
Wow, that was close. I thought he was
toast as well.
I thought he was. That was a super long adaptive strike stun. After the 3 buybacks, so it's so hard to power through 8 lives on the side of ISG.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure why they decided to press. I guess they thought they had, like, if they had an Aegis, I'd say they could do so, or if they still had Echo. But those were already blown in previous fights. Still, not a bad engage for Wild Witch Doctors. They didn't lose the Storm Spirit, which would have been a ton of experience for Isurus, and they forced a buyback out of Morphling.
Yeah, they forced a buyback out of Morphling, Wind Ranger, and the Visage. So still a good fight. Looking at the gold graph, it does reflect, well, the experience starting to reflect those recovery kills Isurus got, but still a good exchange for the Wild Witch Doctors. I liked the play to burn the Mirana ulti basically the second that the tower fell. And after the ultimate wore off and then they had that opportunity to either back off or reinitiate, I think that was the misstep. They had that opportunity to retreat and probably could have minimized their losses, but
I thought the Earthshaker could have gotten a 4-man echo after that fissure. I'm surprised he didn't go for it. I think his link was off cooldown, and rarely will teams present you like a 3 or 4-man echo, especially when they're defending T3. So I thought that was like the go moment right there.
Yeah. Well, being a bit hesitant, a lot of ultimate orbs coming out on the side of Witch Doctors. See one on the Earthshaker. I wonder if they're just going to mass Lincolns here, or if
I think they need a Veil. I think if Earthshaker also won a Veil too, or one of the other supports, then that'd be huge because Isurus still doesn't have BKB, and if you even Nyx does a fair amount of damage with his magical damage at this point with Mana Burn constantly on OD because he still doesn't have a BKB. He's actually going for a sheep, no BKB. So Veil would just crush them.
Yeah, that's very true. Isurus Gaming do have a 5-man smoke in the dire jungle, perhaps.
5-man smoke T1 tower? What's it going to be?
They got the tower, that's true. Roshan has fallen, so the jig is up. It is another 5-man smoke from the Witch Doctors, now headed to the bottom lane. And, oh no, Isurus are in an awkward position here. Does everyone have a TP scroll? Rubik does not. And, alright, Rubik is the only one that's missing a TP scroll. So not too bad, they can get back in time, but they need to be rather careful here. Their racks are exposed. There is a glyph available on both sides of the coin. But, yeah, trading a tier 1 for damage on your racks is usually not a favorable trade. Bane also has a BKB up, so Fiend's Grip will do some damage here in this fight no matter what. And
and the arrow.
Here's the initiation. Wind Ranger will survive. The defensive Astral comes out. The tier 1 tower in the mid lane falls. Glyph popped by the Radiant as their racks start to take some damage. We see the Lincoln's up on Storm. He's also level 16, so he's going to be zipping all over the place. Shackle flies, procs the Lincolns, and they will just focus down the melee racks. Desolator making this push so much more simplistic.
They weren't prepared for this push. They weren't as prepared as they could have been.
Yep, absolutely right. Visage just gets juiced by the Storm Spirit. Rubik, well, a similar fate he shall suffer as he's the second to fall. In comes the Echo Slam. That's enough to finish off the Morphling as well as the Wind Ranger. That's a 4-0. Fiend's Grip on the OD for good measure. There's the GG Merlini. The Wild Witch Doctors, well, they make it into the next round of the losers bracket.
Yeah, they were with their last straw there. They had to go for a long shot smoke gank, and they had the right idea, but unfortunately their backup plan of defending the rack slate just didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
It was still pretty good. I think they held on longer than I expected them to. Morphling, I think, played pretty well. OD also played pretty well too. The supports didn't do too much in the beginning, but they did what they could. I think the draft was actually pretty weak.
Yeah. They drafted rather greedy, and the Morphling just seems out of right field. The way they drafted it as well, we mentioned Bristleback could have been a viable option. They opted for a 4th pick Morphling, and then it was a 5th ban on the Bristleback. And, I mean, that Wind Ranger had an okay impact, but I think Bristle would have been a little more useful. They had no front liner. They had no melee.
The opener from Wild Witch Doctors was a Pot of Nyx. That's a very aggressive opener, and they decided to pick a greedy lineup with heroes that can't actually do anything. It's okay if you draft greedy, I think Gyro and Furion, they're greedy heroes, but they can actually do stuff in the first 20 minutes, and Morphling can't really do anything.
Right, and I mean, Morphling really never came online. He ended 4-3-3, so he didn't feed. He was able to pick up a few kills, but you kind of hit the nail on the head. He really needs 2 big core items to come online, and unfortunately...
It's like Drought. I mean, he had space, but you can't do anything in the first 20 minutes. That's just how the hero works.
Yeah, it's true. So it was well executed by the Wild Witch Doctors. And, well, Ush had a good game on that Storm Spirit, ending 13-2-10.
Yeah, I think Sna played really well, too, on the Nyx. That 4-man Impale, too. I mean, all of them had really good initiates. The Fissure with the Earthshaker, too, was pretty spot on at the T2.
I question picking the OD into a Nyx, though. That second pick OD after Nyx was already chosen.
They could easily band it out, too, because they wouldn't have gone to Wild Witch Doctors.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. So, Nyx Assassin, like you said, not the hard counter, but he definitely gave OD a run for his money.
If OD has BKB, he can handle it, but they weren't anywhere close to finding BKBs. I'm actually surprised he went for the ulti orb into the sheep. That's a long shot. I don't know if the game's going to last that long. So when you're in that situation, you're like, well, I'm going to go for the tried and true. I'm going to go for what helps me right now because they need everything that they could for the mid game.
Right. Well, that does wrap up our first of 2 games today. We have one more best of 1 coming up for you guys. That is the other losers bracket match, and it will be PSSD versus The House is Down. Now, we have an interesting schedule today, and if I'm not mistaken, that match is scheduled for 18:15 EST, so that's 15:15 PST, which is 3:15, and it's 2 o'clock. So we have about an hour break until our next match comes up. It might start a little bit early, but...
this next game should be closer and more exciting.
It should be pretty
definitely
epic.
Tune in.
Worth the wait, guys. So we're going to keep the stream running. We will queue up some tunes, and we may poke our heads in here and there, but we're going to take a little lunch break and come back with our last and second match of the day.
Thanks for staying tuned, guys. I am Merlini Dota. This guy is Yori TV on Twitter.
I sure am.
And we are presenting you the Starladder America Qualifiers.
Yes, we sure are. So, see you guys in about an hour.